So this talk is the first of a series of 4 talks I shall be giving this year, 2024, on Rosicrucian cryptography. Now, cryptography includes what nowadays is called semiotics and is used every day by people the world over without them necessarily fully realizing what it is. Everyone uses it, even animals and all growing things. What it is secret messaging. And there are manifold ways in which this is done and purposes for which it is done. Now, 2024, like 2023, is an important quartercentenary, a 400-year centenary, anniversary, I mean. This time of the famous folio entitled Cryptomenytices and Cryptographiae. Cryptomenytices and Cryptographiae, which is Latin for Cryptomenytics and Cryptography, was written by Augustus II, Duke of Brunswick-Lüneburg, and published in Lüneburg in 1624 using the Duke's pseudonym Gustavus Selenus, which I'll talk about more in my next talk. This great compendium on cryptography contains examples and descriptions of some of the various types of cryptography and semiotics used in the 1623 twin folio publications, the Shakespeare First Folio and Francis Bacon's De Dignitate et Augmentis Scientiarum, about which I gave a series of 4 talks last year, 2023, to celebrate their quartercentenary. Now, these 2 quartercentenaries, 2023 and 2024, are very important, as I shall explain in this talk. Also, during this talk and the following talks in this series this year, I will be dealing with the cryptography and semiotics that were incorporated into those 3 great folio publications of 1623 and 1624, and in other books as well, which were produced by members of the Rosicrucian Society, or fraternity as it came to be called. And I will also share some of my insights and discoveries concerning why the Cryptomenytices and Cryptographiae is a Rosicrucian work, and how it relates to the twin Rosicrucian manifestos, the Fama and Confessio Fraternitatis Rosae Crucis, Latin for the fame and the confession of the Rosicross fraternity, to the opening of the tomb of Christian Rosicross that is described in those manifestos, to the Shakespeare works, and to Francis Bacon's great Instauration. Now, in this talk, like in my other talks, I'm going to share my screen so that you can see the illustrations I prepared for you. So I'm going to share the screen now. Now, the title of Duke Augustus's famous cryptographic manual, Cryptomenytices and Cryptographiae, translates into English as Cryptomenytics and Cryptography. And cryptomenytics is a word that is not well known and cannot be found in most dictionaries. However, it is the only word that embraces all forms of secret communication, whether by voice, by writing, or by signs. By voice, by writing, or by signs are the 3 principal means of communication. By voice refers to speaking, singing, and sounding, such as the words chosen, accents, types of song, keynotes, sounding loud or soft, sharp or flat, deep or shrill, fast or slow, emotional or stern, sad or happy, and so on. And by signs refers to such things as facial expressions, arm or hand gestures, stances, body movements and positions, where a person stands or sits or lies, where he or she faces, and where the eyes are looking. And by writing is what cryptography is all about. Now, cryptography, as its name tells us, includes not just secret writing, but also graphics, and includes code, cipher, geometry, symbolism, printing, drawing, painting, and engraving, all of which can be seen here on this printed title page. However, nowadays the graphical side of cryptography tends to be called semiotics, with only writing, codes and ciphers referred to as cryptography. But in Duke Augustus's day, cryptography covered all sorts of secret writing and graphics. Now, the origin of cryptography can be traced right back to ancient Egyptian times, with the Egyptian use of hieroglyphics, the full meaning of which was only known to an elite few. But even earlier than this was the prehistoric megalithic art carved or painted on monoliths, stelae and menhirs, and the rock art of pictograms drawn or painted on rock walls of caves. And sacred architecture is also a form of cryptography, with geometric patterns and proportions and symbolism underlying the layout and construction of the fabric of the building, the full meaning of which was known only to a few. The Cryptomenytices and Cryptographiae title page, like sacred architecture, has a hidden geometry behind it, which contains a secret message, as well as a secret message in its symbolic pictures. The layout of the title page is based on a geometry of 32 rectangles, known as oblong squares in Freemasonry, with each rectangle or oblong square being of the proportion 8 to 9, i.e. 8 units high by 9 units wide. And 32 rectangles, 32 is the total number of degrees achieved when the initiate symbolically climbs the Kabbalistic tree of life right up to the top. This is because the tree of life is made up of 10 Sephiroth and 22 connecting paths, 32 in total. And the 33rd degree refers to going beyond and embraces the totality of the tree of life that has been climbed. And the 33rd degree is called Darth in Hebrew, which means an all-embracing knowledge of the tree of life, which knowledge is complete illumination. And such knowledge is experiential knowledge of what the tree means, how it all operates, and why it exists, because the person has practiced and perfected all of the 32 stages, and therefore knows the tree inside and out, and all of what it means. As I said, such knowledge is supreme and total illumination, because it's knowledge of the wisdom, and wisdom is what gives the light. Now, the tree of life consists of 2 side columns or pillars and a central column or pillar. The 2 side pillars are symbolized by the sun and the moon. In terms of light, these 2 signify radiation and reflection. They also signify wisdom and intelligence, heart and mind, force and form, creativity and response, and so on. The top and bottom of the tree are also polarities, signifying heaven and earth, spirit and matter, and all other such polarities. In 3 dimensions, this can be extended to the polarities of inside and outside, and so on. In every case, both polarities are needed, as there cannot be the one without the other. Therefore, they are known as twins. Moreover, each twin is also in themselves a twin, as in male and female. The male has a female aspect, and the female has a male aspect, as I'm sure we all know. To balance and harmonize the 2 aspects, while still performing the role required or needed, or that feels right and does the most good, is truly an art. But twinship is of fundamental importance and underlies all things. It is the key to everything. In one sense, we can call this the law of relativity, wherein everything relates to something else. For instance, we cannot describe anything without relating it to something else. Large or tall is only such when seen in relationship to something smaller or shorter. And we only see light when it is contrasted with darkness or something that is not so light. And we only hear sound when contrasted with silence or something not so loud. And love and friendship only exist when we have someone other than our own selves to love and be friends with. But there are innumerable twinships, some of which are more important than others, or at least so it seems. Getting to recognize and know these is important, and recognizing them is the first step. The next step is learning how to harmonize them by working with both, respecting both, and building up a loving relationship or friendship between the 2. Then there comes a harmony, which is then followed by beauty and then by joy. And all this is described in the classical myth of Mars and Venus, who represent the 2 pillars. In the myth, the 2 divinities, Mars and Venus, become friends and lovers, and love each other for eternity. And as a result, they give birth to Harmony and Cupid. And harmony is pure music, the music of the soul, which creates beauty, and beauty gives joy. And Cupid is joy, the delight when love is fully expressed and enjoyed, which lights up the eyes and makes the face shine with light, creating a halo and an aura of light. And delight or happiness is in fact the real meaning of the Hebrew word awe, the light that is created on the first day of creation, as described in Genesis chapter 1 of the Holy Bible. It is the light that accompanies happiness or joy, especially when producing a sense of awe. Of awe. Oh, I so wish everyone knew this. Harmony, beauty, and joy are represented by the middle pillar of the tree of life. Harmony is the foundation of all things, the foundation of the whole universe, without which nothing could exist. Beauty is the true heart of everything. It lies in the heart of the universe and in the heart of each one of us. And joy is the crowning experience of life, a pure, exalted happiness of knowing and being one with the utmost good, the divine love. And the twin pillars are the parents of the middle pillar. As Francis Bacon said, quoting an axiom of the ancient philosophers, who associated Mars with strife and Venus with friendship, strife and friendship are the spurs of motion and the keys of works. The Gemini myth also describes this, but in terms of 2 brothers. By striving together in friendship, we can achieve great things, such as in playing harmonious and beautiful music that gives delight. Then in terms of the ancient axiom, There are two spurs, one for the left foot and one for the right foot, that twin each other. And two keys, one silver, the other gold, that twin each other. And as Freemasonry so aptly says, referring to the sun pillar, the moon pillar, and the middle pillar respectively, wisdom to design, strength to support, and beauty to adorn. But besides all these and other twinships, time also has its twinships, and these are equally important. Time. Well, the 1624 date of publication of Cryptomenytices et Cryptographiae is of particular significance for two reasons. It was published in folio format the year after the publication of the twin folios, the 1623 Shakespeare First Folio and Francis Bacon's De Dignitate et Augmentis Scientiarum Folio. And second, it provides an encyclopedic compendium of the various types and methods of secret communication that had been used in the past and were still being used, including several that were used in the 1623 Shakespeare First Folio and in Francis Bacon's De Dignitate et Augmentis Scientiarum Folio, as well as in some other works of that time. For the authors of the publications, the danger of including any cryptography in the two 1623 folios was that it might not be identified by future generations, or even realized to exist, even though it was meant to be discovered in due time. So for this reason, deliberate clues were left, including the publication of Cryptomenytices et Cryptographiae the very next year in 1624. In other words, and as Francis Bacon hinted he would do, clues were left so as to assist the earnest seeker after truth in the art of discovery, so that eventually the truth could be discovered at the center of the labyrinth, brought forth, revealed, and known. Bacon, quoting from Proverbs chapter 25, verse 2 in the Bible, pointed out in his very first Advancement of Learning book, published in 1605, that life is a game of hide and seek, in which the divine author has hidden the truth in order for us to search for it and have the delight of finding it. To quote, "For he," that's Solomon, "saith expressly, the glory of God is to conceal a thing, but the glory of a king is to find it out. As if according to that innocent and affectionate play of children, the divine majesty took delight to hide his works, to the end to have them found out, and as if kings could not obtain greater honor than to be God's playfellows in that game." Now please note that here in the title page, Bacon gives us a very big clue straight away by placing above the title and in very large letters the two books of, followed by his name in smaller font, whilst the title of the publication printed beneath is printed in even smaller font. In this way, two is emphasized, which is the fundamental secret of life and key to everything else: duality, polarity, twinship. Then on the title page of his New Atlantis, Bacon uses another ancient axiom in association with an emblem picture, one which was first used on the title page of the Geneva Bible New Testament, and which has a deeper meaning than most people realize: hidden truth brought forth by time. By time. Time is therefore another important clue which we should take note of and learn what the secret message really means, for here time is twinned with truth. Moreover, time is portrayed as Pan, the spirit of nature and the universe, whilst truth is symbolized as a human being. And Pan is depicted or understood as being male, whilst truth is depicted as a woman. Now, in the classical myth concerning Pan, he is the divine wisdom vibrating his sound or music throughout nature, whilst his beloved is called Echo. Both are important, time and truth, otherwise called Pan and Echo. And this is a clue. This emblem is an example of a cryptogram, as also is the whole title page and other such title pages and frontispieces. By publishing Cryptomenytices et Cryptographiae the year after the publication of the twin 1623 folios was not only to enable cryptography to be linked more easily with the two 1623 folios as a clue, but also to make use of the twinship of the 2 years, 1623 and 1624, in a hermetic way. We can summarize the hermetic teaching as above, so below, as below, so above, for the doing of the great work. Now, 1623 was the occasion of a Saturn-Jupiter great conjunction, a planetary conjunction of these two outer planets that occurs approximately every 20 years. When this happens, the year following that of the great conjunction is considered its twin. I'll say that again. When this great conjunction happens, the year following that of the great conjunction is considered its twin. The two work together like an in-breath and an out-breath. But not only this, the breathing continues, so that in a 20-year great conjunction cycle there are 10 sets of twin years, or 10 full breaths. And out of these 10 sets of twin years, the first set is the most important, being the creative alpha set of the cycle. Then there is the twinship of ideal time and real time. Quatercentenaries mark a period of 400 years in which there would be exactly 20 great conjunctions, but this is according to ideal time. The real or actual time period of a great conjunction cycle is on average 7,253.46 days, which is about 52 days less than the 20 years. 20 years comes to 7,305 days. 20 great conjunctions, therefore, occur over an approximate time frame of 145,069 days, which is about 1,040 days less than 400 years, although this is variable. In other words, 20 great conjunctions take approximately 397 years, give or take a few months. And that's why, for instance, the 20th great conjunction after the 1623 great conjunction occurred on the 21st of December 2020, rather than in 2023, the quatercentenary year. However, both real time and ideal time need to be taken notice of, because they also act like twins. Just as what we each do usually doesn't match what we think we can do. I think we all know that. That's to say, our manifest reality is not exactly the same as the ideal idea or vision we had in the first place, or which we are aiming for. I'm sure we all know this from experience. Yet both are needed, the ideal first, the real second. In terms of the human being, this corresponds to thought first, action second. And then the reality manifested by our action can affect or modify the next ideal thought, or move the goalposts, as they say. So as Hermes so truly said, as above, so below, as below, so above, for the doing of the great work. Each affects the other. And this is how science works. With each experiment, for instance, in science, each experimentation leads to an idea or theory. Then you put that in practice in the next experiment, and then gradually get to know what the truth is as time goes on. But in terms of time, the human being is not the same as the planetary being, wherein planetary timing depends on the Earth's relationship with the Sun. The 10 sets of twin years in a 20-year Great Conjunction cycle are associated with and regulated by the 10 Sephiroth of the Kabbalistic Tree of Life, 10 being a cipher that rules all life. And this is another of the secrets revealed in the Great Conjunction cycle, which few people know. The better known secret is that the conjunction and oppositions of Saturn and Jupiter during 3 cycles of great conjunctions and oppositions mark out the 6 points of the Seal of Solomon in the sky. When the conditions are right, the Seal of Solomon can become the Hex Alpha or Star of David, also known as the Christ Star or North Pole Star. Why North Pole Star? Well, North is emblematic of the crown chakra, the crown of achievement, which achievement is full illumination. And Solomon's seal is the symbol of the harmony and beauty that occurs when the opposites, the twins, unite together in love. And the 2 isosceles triangles of Solomon's seal represent the twins at the moment of their marriage in a unity of love. And the Star of David, or Christ Star, signifies their joy, their delight, their illumination, which then occurs, which is also a light that shines forth to others. And this light or joy is allegorized as their child. Then there is yet another twinship to consider, which is that of the first 2 twin years in a trigonalis series, or trigonalis series. A trigon being the name given to a set of 3 zodiac signs governed by the same zodiac element. And great conjunctions tend to occur in trigons, with 3 great conjunctions completing a trigon over a period of approximately 60 years. As fire is symbolic of the initiating force, the alpha force, the trigon sequence is from fire to earth to air to water. Now 1603 to 4 was the first set of twin years in a new fiery trigon series that was to last 179 years. This means that it was an alpha set, not just in terms of a 20-year cycle, but also in terms of a fiery trigon cycle. And this is why the 1603 to 4 celestial phenomena, a great conjunction, nova in Cygnus and supernova in Ophiuchus, was greeted with such excitement, and was both seen and understood as announcing the prophesied appearance of Elias the artist to the world, which the Rosicrucians allegorize as the opening of the tomb of Fra Christian Rosicross. The 1623 to 24 great conjunction twin years that followed therefore constituted not only the alpha set for the new 20-year cycle, but also as the second set of alpha twin years in the new fiery trigon series, it was the twin of the 1603 to 4 set. Of these two alpha sets of twin years in this fiery trigon series, the 1603-4 alpha twins were associated with the creative in-breath of inspiration, and the 1623-4 alpha twins were associated with the out-breath of manifestation. And both together form the alpha set for the fiery trigon series. I'll just pause for you to take that in, because I'm going to go on. Then in terms of the complete trigonalis series of 4 trigons, the fiery trigon series is the alpha trigon, because fire represents the initiating power of the 4 elements. And we should note, we are still in this trigonalis series right now. Since the end of 1980, we have been in the air trigon. The fire trigon series began in 1603. And the last of the fire trigon great conjunctions was in 1782. The earth trigon series then began on the 17th of July 1802 and ended with a great conjunction in Capricorn on the 18th of February 1961. And the air trigon series then began on the 31st of December 1980 with a triple great conjunction in Libra. Just want you to take that in, because 1980 was enormously important. And the next one after that was on the 28th of May 2000, when the great conjunction occurred in Taurus, an earth sign, but this was a near miss for being in Gemini, an air sign. And the most recent great conjunction was on the 21st of December 2020 in Aquarius. And the next one, that's still to come, will be on the 31st of October 2040 in Libra. So as you can see, the significance of all this is immense. It means that what occurred in 1603-4 and 1623-4 still affects us now. Indeed, it was and still is the creative alpha of all the good that is unfolding now, slowly and steadily reforming and transmuting all the ages-old not so good into something better, often unseen or unrealized or taken for granted. And the additional thing that has happened in our time is the movement from an old great age into a new great age. And this brings in something even greater, which the 1603-4 celestial phenomena foretold. As for us, we just have to keep on keeping on, always making the effort to do good and to build friendships, not just with other people, but also with the earth below and the heavens above, and with all nature, inner and outer, until we become true echoes of Pan, the spirit of wisdom. So I'm now going to show you the celestial zodiac of the heavens in terms of the stars and constellations set against a dark background, so that you're able to see more clearly what I'm going to tell you now. (1603) was when the great conjunction in Sagittarius occurred, with the nova in Cygnus the Swan shining brightly in the Milky Way, and the Swan flying towards the great conjunction of Saturn and Jupiter, which was near the ecliptic in Sagittarius, but close to the cusp of Sagittarius Scorpio. So there's the nova in Cygnus, there's Cygnus the Swan, there's the head of the Swan, and it's flying down towards this great conjunction that happened where I'm pointing to now. Now, in a tradition dating back to the ancient Egyptians, Cygnus the Swan symbolizes the child of light in the womb and birth canal of the Divine Mother, who is associated with the Milky Way. It's the Milky Way. In Egyptian mythology, the Divine Mother, called Nut, signified the heavens. And her twin counterpart and spouse, the Divine Father, called Geb, signified the earth. And Geb was depicted as a horizontal plane, a flat earth as it were, whilst Nut was depicted arching over him, filled with stars and symbolizing the Milky Way. So there's Milky Way, Nut, and that axis of the zodiac is a symbol of Geb. The relatively dark area in the sky known as the Great Rift, which seemingly divides the Milky Way into two, signifies the space between the legs of the Divine Mother. So I'm pointing to the Great Rift now. So these are the two legs of the Divine Mother on each side of the Great Rift. Hence the Great Rift, and particularly that part close to the centre of the Milky Way galaxy, is known as the place of birth. And this is undoubtedly why the sages of that time saw the remarkable two-year celestial phenomena of 1603 to 4 as fulfilling Paracelsus's prophecy of the appearance or birthing of a great light, Elias the artist, who was also the Swan. This the Rosicrucians in England took as a sign to start to make their work public and to spread it abroad. So I just want you to note that this great conjunction there that was joined by Mars the next year in 1604 and this big supernova in Ophiuchus, all close together on this cusp of Sagittarius, Scorpio, and close to the centre of the Milky Way, which is about there where I'm pointing to. In what's called the first Rosicrucian Manifesto, the Fama Fraternitatis, meaning the fame of the fraternity, published in 1614, the year 1604 is referred to as the year when the tomb of the Rosicrucian father, Christian Rosicross, was opened to reveal the uncorrupted body of the great master and many other important things. This same manifesto, which is full of cipher, allegory, symbolism, and other cryptographic material, describes how, after the tomb had been found and opened, to quote, "Howbeit we know after a time there will now be a general reformation, both of divine and human things, according to our desire and the expectation of others. For it is fitting that before the rising of the sun there should appear and break forth aurora, or some clearness or divine light in the sky." Now this statement is likening the Rosicrucian father, Christian Rosicross, to the biblical Elijah, who heralds the coming of Christ, just as Venus is known as the morning star, which heralds the rising sun. The rising sun, or second coming of Christ, is happening right now. Whilst the midsummer sun is passing over the cusp of Sagittarius Scorpio. So I've shown this on this star map. That's the midwinter sun passing over the cusp of Sagittarius Scorpio. The sages of 400 years ago would have been able to calculate when the midsummer sun would move onto the cusp of Sagittarius Scorpio. They would also have known that this would mark the end of the Great Age and the birth of a new Great Age. Therefore, to see the great conjunction of Saturn and Jupiter in 1603, which was joined in 1604 by Mars and a bright new supernova in Ophiuchus, taking place near the ecliptic and on the cusp of Sagittarius Scorpio, was of immense import. It linked the 1603-4 celestial phenomena and Elias the artist with the birth of a new great age 400 years in the future. And many Rosicrucians and others recognize Elias the artist, aka Christian Rosicross, as Francis Bacon, and said so in their publications. And this I've spoken about in my previous talks on the Rosicrucian mysteries. And Francis Bacon even referred to himself as a Buccinator Novi Tempores, Latin for a herald of a new time. He says this in aphorism 93 in his book Novum Organum, Book 1. The new time that Bacon foresaw as being possible and to be aimed for is described in his utopian book New Atlantis. However, Bacon also saw in prophetic vision the dark period the world would go through beforehand, and he left a prayer in which he prayed that we would get safely through it. And this, of course, is because in every cycle of time, great or small, like the annual cycle, the birth of the new, called Christmas in the annual cycle, takes place at midwinter, the darkest time of the cycle. As the herald of a new time, who, like Elijah and John the Baptist, prepares the way for the greater light, Bacon set in motion a means by which the world could be baptized or purified and redeemed, and be able to recognize and know the greater light when it came, by having first done what was necessary for this to happen. So in 1605, immediately after the 1604 opening of the tomb, Francis Bacon's Of the Proficience and Advancement of Learning, Divine and Human, was published in order to describe what was needed to be done and to set the work in motion in a more universal way. And he describes this work as a general reformation of things divine and human. Divinity referring to the wisdom that is written down, recorded in some sort of way, and human referring to what's recorded in terms of philosophy and so on. In 1620, this general reformation of all arts and sciences, divine and human, was announced to the world by Francis Bacon as the Instauratio Magna, the Great Instauration. The publication was in Latin, as it was the international language of that time. The first 42 pages of the publication, including the title page, describe the Instauratio Magna. 42, that's a special number. These are then followed by the 2 books of the Novum Organum. The Latin title Novum Organum, chosen as representing a new and better organum than Aristotle's organum, has usually been translated as New Method. However, Novum Organum more properly translates as New Instrument or New Machine. Moreover, what Bacon published was only the first 2 books of this new instrument, and these 2 books only provide the first 3 parts of an 11-part instrument or machine, the headings of which he listed in his Novum Organum. And this was clearly done on purpose, so as to leave the rest for posterity to discover. As in letters to Toby Matthew, Bacon said that he had completed his new organ or instrument. Sorry, I keep wanting to revert to Latin. So this method is an example of a universal type of cryptography, as the encrypted message is to all of us, which means it is up to us to spot the clues, decrypt them, and thereby discover the other 8 parts. Returning to the subject of time, in terms of the 1623-4 alpha twin years, that twin the 1603-4 alpha twin years, 1623 is the twin of 1603, when the great conjunction of Saturn and Jupiter in Sagittarius occurred and Elias the artist first appeared. And 1624 is the twin of 1604, when the supernova in Ophiuchus Serpentarius occurred and the tomb of Christian Rosicross was opened. In other words, the 1623 publication of the twin folios, the Shakespeare First Folio and Francis Bacon's De Dignitate et Augmentis Scientiarum, twins the first appearance of Elias the artist, who will reveal all things. And the 1624 publication of Cryptomenytices et Cryptographiae twins the opening of the tomb of Christian Rosicross to reveal the great light of the Rosicrucian wisdom and knowledge, but in a cryptic way. Because the 1624 Cryptomenytices et Cryptographiae twins the 1604 opening of the tomb of Christian Rosicross, we should look first at the description of the opening of the tomb as given in the Fama Fraternitatis Rosae Crucis, the fame of the Brotherhood of the Rosy Cross, and take note of its cryptography. The Fama Fraternitatis describes the tomb as a vault of 7 sides and corners, every side 5 foot broad and the height of 8 foot. In other words, each of the 7 walls was a rectangle of golden proportions, being 5 feet wide by 8 feet high. This golden proportion links us with the pentagram, as also the 5-petaled rose, which are composed of the same 5 to 8 golden proportion. A harmonious proportion symbolized by the Greek letter phi, and which is directly related to the Fibonacci sequence or series of numbers. Then each wall of the vault is described as being divided into 10 squares. But in order for 10 squares to fit a wall of golden proportions, the description of a square almost certainly refers to an oblong square as described in Freemasonry, wherein each oblong square in this case would be 2.5 feet wide by 1.6 feet high. These 10 oblong squares would then fit together on the wall in 2 columns, with each column 5 squares high. This arrangement then provides 5 sets of twins. And 5 equates with the 5 points for pentagram and the 5 petals of a rose. Moreover, the combined height of 5 twin sets of oblong squares is 8 feet, thereby emphasizing the 5 to 8 golden proportion, whilst the 2 columns emphasize the duality or twinship of life. This 2 times 5 arrangement echoes that of the 2 stone tablets of Moses on which the 10 commandments were inscribed. And the number of oblong squares, as also the number of commandments, is derived from the 10 Sephiroth, which means emanations, of the Kabbalistic tree of life. And the 10 emanations give rise to and govern all life and levels of life in the universe. The first 3 emanations symbolize the Holy Trinity, which produce or manifest as the other 7, just as white light produces or can be split into the spectrum of 7 colors. Hence the vault has 7 walls, representing the Holy 7 or 7-fold spectrum of white light. Returning again to the 10 oblong squares of each wall, each oblong square has an area of 4 square feet, being 1/10 of the total area of each wall, whose area is 40 square feet. And 40 is a significant number, referring to a period of creativity, testing, and purification. It is used many times in the Bible and is also found in the sacred traditions of other cultures as an important portion of time, such as in the 9 40-day periods of the year, 360 days in total, which culminate in the 5 intercalary days of midwinter, or 6 in a leap year. And 40 is also the number of companions in the complete chapter of Rosicrucians, or Holy Royal Arch Freemasons. The name chapter is derived from the chapter house of an abbey, wherein the monks assembled each day to hear read out to them a chapter of the Bible. And each Rosicrucian chapter of 40 companions was made up of 4 sets of 10 companions. 4 sets of 10. The number 10 references the 10 Sephiroth of the Tree of Life, so that each companion in a set represents one of the 10 Sephiroth. And the number 4 references the 4 alchemical elements, earth, water, air, and fire, so that each set of 10 companions represents one of the 4 elements. And the sum of all 7 chapters or areas of the 7 walls is 7 times 40, which comes to the sum of 280. Now 280 is also 4 times 70. And 70 is the number of elders comprising a great council, known as a Sanhedrin in Jewish tradition. Each great council or Sanhedrin of 70 elders is made up of a set of 10 companions from each of the 7 chapters. In other words, the walls of the Rosicrucian vault represent 7 chapters and 4 great councils, with each great council representing one of the 4 alchemical elements. And the great councils and chapters are each and all ruled over by the 3 grand principles who represent the Holy Trinity. When these grand principles preside over each meeting of a chapter or great council, 2 of them are seen and 1 is unseen. The 2 visible principles represent the divine twins. The invisible principle signifies their union in love, which is both their source of love and the manifestation of their love as light or delight, known as the Son of light. The 70 elders of a great council plus the 2 visible presiding principles sum to 72, which is another significant sacred number. In Judaic tradition, for instance, there are 72 names of God. And mathematically, 72 is 1/5 of 360, which refers to a circle whose 360-degree circumference is divided into 5 parts, each part subtending an angle of 72 degrees. In other words, 72 degrees is the angle between the 2 radii of a sector that is 1/5 of a circle. And there are 5 72-degree sectors in a complete circle, with the radii forming the divisions between them. And these radii also form the 5 internal divisions of a regular pentagon. And a regular pentagon encloses a regular pentagram whose connecting lines between its vertices divide each other in the golden ratio, 3:5:8:13. I'll pause there and let you take it in. It's a lot to take in. I'm giving you a very, as they say, a high degree education. Now the ecliptic, the sun's path in the sky, is seen from the Earth, which is the circumference of the celestial zodiac, is divided into 360 degrees. And it takes the sun 72 years to move 1 degree in its precessional cycle. The precessional cycle is the movement of the sun along the ecliptic when observed annually on the same day of the year each year. And the main day chosen for this by the higher degree mystery schools was either the midsummer solstice or the midwinter solstice. These two solstice days twin each other, and each can be used as a check on the other as to the movement taken. The precessional movement of the sun means that the sun takes approximately 25,920 years to complete a zodiac circle. But this time period is usually rounded off as around 26,000 years. And this time period is called a Great Age and consists of 12 ages, each age lasting approximately 2,160 years, when the zodiac is divided into 12 equal sectors or zodiac signs. And we nowadays mainly use the 12-fold division of a great age, but the Mayans used a 5-fold division in their long count calculations of a great age. And the long count deals with ideal time. And according to the Mayan long count, there are 5 great cycles in a great age of 26,000 years. And each great cycle consists of 5,200 years, or 13 baktons, as they called it. A bakton is 400 years. I'll repeat that. A bakton is 400 years. Now, returning again to the Rosicrucian vault, each wall of the Rosicrucian vault was inscribed with several figures and sentences, and had a door for a chest which contained diverse things, including books, parchments, looking glasses, bells, burning lamps, and songs. And the floor, representing the earthly world, was divided into 7 triangles containing the names of the inferior governors or spirits. And likewise the ceiling was composed of 7 triangles with a sun in the centre which illuminated the whole vault. This sun was a microcosm of the greater sun. And directly beneath this sun, standing on the floor in the midst of the vault, was a round altar covered over with a plate of brass. And on this circular brass plate was engraved in Latin, AC RC hoc universi compendium unius mihi sepulchrum feci. And in English this translates as, "To the glory of the Rosy Cross, I have constructed this tomb for myself as a compendium of the universal unity." Now the 4 initials ACRC, disposed as 2 sets of 2 capital letters, are said to signify Ad Claritas and Rosae Crucis, respectively. Being ciphered as initials and arranged this way, 2 by 2, they refer to the double truth, allegorized as the immortal heavenly twins and the mortal heavenly twins. The 7 words that follow these 4 initials are made up of 44 letters. In other words, 2 times 22. Not only does this emphasize the number 2, but also 22 refers to the number of paths on the tree of life, which link the 10 Sephiroth. And 22 doubled indicates the existence of 2 trees, twinship again. And these 2 trees are named in the Holy Bible as the tree of life and the tree of knowledge. and they are equivalent to pan and echo, or wisdom and truth. And then the 4 letters plus 44 letters provides a play upon the number 4, complementing the 40 square feet area of each wall and the 4 square feet of each oblong square. And beneath the central altar was found a sarcophagus in which lay the uncorrupted body of Fra CRC, the father of the Rosicross fraternity. Uncorrupted usually translates in people's minds as meaning preserved, but it can also mean pure or holy, and also ever living. And in his hand he held a parchment book called Book I, which the farmer describes as being, next unto the Bible, the Rosicrucian's greatest treasure. In other words, Book I twins the Bible. Now, in Bacon's terms, the Bible and Book I translate into examples of divinity and philosophy, wherein divinity is the divine wisdom, as inspired into human hearts and recorded in the Holy Scriptures, and philosophy is science, the illumined knowledge of that wisdom. The all-seeing eye, the eye of God, or eye of providence, or eye of Horus, is symbolic of this illumination, hence the name of Book I. In other words, the Bible and Book I correspond to divinity and philosophy, which correspond to Pan and Echo, or wisdom or truth, or the tree of life and tree of knowledge. There was also another, much smaller altar, in which was kept the minutum mundum, or small universe. The Latin name for altar is altar, the same as in English, but with an E on the end. And the initial letter of altar or altar is a capital A. So in this way, the two altars provide the Rosicrucian AA signature, about which I've spoken before in previous talks, available on the FBRT YouTube channel, as well as written about in essays available on the FBRT website. And the two A's have profound cryptic meaning, especially as the letter A is the alpha letter of the whole alphabet, and to the sages of old, the alphabet represents the word or creative wisdom of God. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Now, all of this that I've been sharing with you are examples of cryptography and semiotics, the different types of which were written about in Cryptomenytices et Cryptographiae by Duke Augustus. And I've also shown you how cryptography with its semiotics is to be found in the sky as well as in what the sages have produced on earth, and how everything is twinned in some way, including time. And in my next talks I shall speak further about time and give more examples of the different types of cryptography and semiotics printed in various key books, especially including the Shakespeare Folio. And semiotic cryptograms are also to be found in the landscape of the world, which the great myths help us to recognize, learn about, and work with. When we do this and recognize these cryptic patterns and how to use them, doing the right thing in the right place at the right time, etc., then we are acting a mystery and become good actors upon the stage of the world. In other words, we become true echoes, revealing the truth. So doing the right thing in the right place at the right time and with the right orientation is an axiom we should all practice if we can, for therein lies the key to success. as long as we make sure that the right thing is to do good, then we are helping to bring about a real marriage of heaven and earth. And such a marriage gives us a knowledge of truth. And this sort of knowledge is a delight and illumination. And this is what Pallas Athena, the spear shaker, actually represents. Cryptically, of course. So, with this final remark, I'll end this talk.